Mark Bejster with Spraytec. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
Very good. And yourself?
All right, doing good. Just wanted to have you on the show and talk a lot about Spraytec. We've been doing business with you guys. I'm thinking 5 or 6, maybe 7 years now.
At least 5 or 6.
Yep.
Yes.
We've always been big about pH and water, and that's based on what we saw on our farm and our applications that we've done in the past. And so we've always been big about everybody assumes water is water, right? And it's the largest carrier in the tank that we have, or the largest product in the tank, and it's the least one talked about.
Yep.
And so we want to talk a lot about that, but we'd like to hear a little bit about your story and tell us about Spraytec in general. I know the owner fairly well, I'll say, and hoping to have him on the show soon. But so I always like to know the owners of the companies that we're doing business with, and so I like to do business with good people, and so I'll add you to that list. So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about Spraytec.
Yeah. So started about 2 years ago. Coming up my 2-year anniversary. Came from retail ag, so I sold for 2 different companies for 9 years before coming to Spraytec. I was just looking for a little bit different schedule and something kind of fit a little bit better with the family farm. And Spraytec had an opportunity, and I took advantage of that. But so I'm the regional sales manager over Wisconsin, Illinois, and Kentucky. So pretty large territory, put a lot of miles on the truck. And then on top of that, I also farm with my brother and my father back home around Ladd, Illinois. And so then when I'm out on the road doing the rest of my duties, teaching everybody about adjuvants and phytostimulants, nutritionals, and everything else Spraytec has to offer. And you'd mentioned Diego. So yeah, so it's actually pretty neat. I get to work very closely with Diego, hand in hand. And one thing about Diego is he is the only owner of this whole company. So he started it back in '89, and he still maintains 100% ownership of the company.
Wow, so family owned.
Family owned. So we are a family-owned global company in over 44 countries, and we're continuing to grow and expand into more countries every year.
Wow, that's a feat in today's world. You know, a lot of companies, I don't want to say want to do a cash grab, right? But they want to grow relatively quick, and they try to get a return on investment, which is totally understandable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so to be able to do that, 36 years, that's a big deal. And you said 44 countries.
44 and counting. So I just went to Germany with Diego back in November. It was Agritechnica, which is the largest equipment trade show in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They host it every 2 years. But we went over there, and I got to meet some of our reps from Spain, Belgium, Ukraine, Russia, the Netherlands. It's just really neat. Yeah, we're everywhere. Our biggest countries are Australia, Brazil, America, but we're growing everywhere. We've since expanded into Canada, but it's just really neat working for a family-owned company and a farmer. And he's right there beside you. We're that large of a company, and he still is right there next to you at the trade shows, engaging and talking with growers and sharing his knowledge. And it's really neat.
I've met him. He's extremely intelligent and always hands-on.
Yeah.
At all levels, right? From the most detailed, right?
Yep.
Chemistry thing to how we're going to take care of the warehouse and the office.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. No.
Good. I know you guys have got a lot of products in PFR,
Yep.
and a lot of them have PFR proven, so that's always a big deal from a marketing perspective. I know that does well, and and the reason why is because of the ROI, right? I mean, you mentioned low use, and I'll say they're very economical. So let's dive into the why and the how if you want to. You're very well versed in the technology, I know, and you'll tell us what you can, and you'll keep to yourself what you can't. But
so Full-Tech Adjuvant, that's our main product. That's been around the longest, and it's been reformulated multiple times since. But like you said before, water is the number one thing that almost everybody sprays the most of. But we don't think about or consider, each water source where we're getting or what's in our water, right? And how it affects either negatively or positively our herbicides, our fungicides, our insecticides, and so on. So diving in a little bit on the Adjuvant, it's got a water conditioner for tying up your cations. They're positively charged, and a lot of our herbicides have negatively charged molecules, and that's how we lose that active ingredient. So if we can tie up those cations, that's the first thing we're doing. And then after that, pH. I've tested a lot of water from Wisconsin to Kentucky, and it's all different. We can have a pH of 6.5 all the way up. I've seen as high as 10 or 10 and a half.
Oh,
depend on where they're getting the water, whether it's from a municipality, they're getting it from a well, if they're getting it from a farm pond. You know, it all varies, as well as the hardness of the water, like I was talking about with the cations. So ideally, we want that pH range in that 4.5 to 5.5 final solution going to the field. Almost all your herbicides and fungicides perform better at that negative or that acidic level rather than a neutral or alkaline. Then on top of that, we've got anti-foam and a DRA in there. So just trying to make it a lot easier to work with this product, as well as keep your droplets on target. It's got a non-ionic surfactant, a deposition aid. So there's our spreader sticker. We're driving that product into the canopy. And lastly, emulsifiers. And we really don't talk about emulsifiers enough in the industry. And the reason I get at that is when we look at the basic manufacturers, and then when they put tank mixes together, let's just throw out Lexar for an example. Okay, there's 3 different active ingredients there. And Syngenta has done the legwork already, making sure that those components and those different active ingredients are compatible in the jug, as well as in the tank once we introduce it to a spray mix or water, right? Well, obviously with market prices right now and the generic market becoming more popular, what guys are trying to do is kind of make their own premixes, which is understandable. I do the same on my farm. But what emulsifiers do is think of them as that's the main part of a compatibility agent. So making everything play nice in the tank and get along, and that's what the generics are not doing. Is really going that extra, research and development and making sure that everything's stable.
It's a way to cheapen the product up too, right?
Bingo. So that's what emulsifiers are doing, and that's where they help. And probably one of the coolest things I haven't mentioned yet is the low use rate. So 2-3 ounces per acre. I see you got our sample bottles here. There's 2 ounces. Mm-hmm. So for 10 to 15 gallon water, that is all you need to do all of that with our Adjuvant, which is really, really neat.
So you're telling me if I've got an 8.5 pH and I throw 2 to 3 ounces of that in 10 to 15 gallon solution per acre, I'm going to get my pH to 4.5 to 5.5?
Correct. It's actually going to lower it more than that. You're actually going to see it go down probably closer to a 3 or 3.5. But that's just the water. Once we start introducing different herbicides or nutritional or something else in the tank, that's actually going to raise that pH back up to an extent. And generally we see that fall right between that 4.5 and 5.5.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. It's seeing is believing. That's a big thing for us, because most people are like, oh my gosh, the whole market, the industry is in that pint per acre, quart per acre, and we're talking pint per 100, and so we like to show how our product works, and that helps, with the low use rate thing.
Yeah. I think you guys have got a kit. I've seen you do it before. We maybe need to have that on next time. Maybe we could show that actually live, and measure the pH before and after.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, I mean, every one of our guys, every one of our managers, sales reps, you name it, everybody, when they start working first week, that's one of the first things they get with their laptop is a full demonstration kit for our Adjuvant. And yes, Diego believes, seeing is believing. And so many times in retail, and I was even in the position of procurement manager for 1 year. So I did all the purchasing decisions on the crop protection side and pricing and everything. And never did I have an Adjuvant company come in and show me how their product worked. They would walk in with their tech sheet, hand it to me, and go, it does this, this, and this. Here's the rate, and here's your cost per acre, and it works great. Okay? Well, when we walk in, everybody's got a kit. And we can walk in, we can actually show you how ours works. We can prove it, which I think goes a long ways, building that trust and everything else.
Yeah, it does. The first time I saw it's when I really believed it. It's like, wow. Because it is too good to be true, in my opinion. I mean, you put 2 ounces in a 15 gallon an acre rate, and it's like you just a volume displacement, 15 gallon to 2 ounces is amazing.
And it's yes, it is amazing, and our whole lineup's that way. I mean, we're known for our low use rates, our nutritionals and phytostimulants. You're gonna notice as you look through the portfolio, all of those are like 4 to 5.5 ounces per acre, as well, versus quarts or gallons.
I thought most companies made money by volume.
Well, if you like selling and trucking water, I suppose. I like to think about it as how many acres rather than how many gallons I sell. So
yeah, it's a good tool.
Yep.
What and it is very economical. We don't need to go into prices, but I'll tell you, it's extremely very cost effective. And again, there's a lot of information on the adjuvant specifically in the PFR book. I know it's been PFR proven for a few years here, so
yeah,
it's been a big deal, I'm sure, for you. But
Becks have been a fantastic partner for us. We've been working with those guys probably at least 4 to 5 years. And we love their unbiased trial data and the work that they do. We used Adjuvant the way, it's been proven, and we talked about that. Yes, well, it's not only great for herbicides, but it's great for fungicides. The pH is just as important there, and we talked about the surfactant. We talked about the anti-drift and other components there, the deposition aid, and those all benefit a fungicide.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of hard to show ROI, and that's what they're after in the
Right.
XPFR is ROI.
Right.
Well, it's kind of hard to show ROI with weeds. Either they're dead or they're not, right?
Right.
So we decided to do it with fungicides, so we could actually show how much it increased control of the fungicide, and so that's how we came to that.
Yeah, it's a really good tool. Like, again, a lot of times we think of adjuvants as doing a job that you really can't quantify necessarily. So I'm glad you did it that way. I hadn't heard that story actually as to the reason why they went with fungicides. But yeah, if it's doing that for a fungicide, what's it doing for our herbicides and our effective, and I look at kill and, we all know where we've been with the Roundup situation, right? With resistance and so on. And, there's a little bit of talk about, Liberty or glufosinate having some resistance as well. And so, that's a whole nother issue that we need to work through. But that's kind of why I'm very passionate about, let's not increase our use rate. Let's just make what the use rate that we have more effective and more efficient. And getting that pH right is actually what's doing that, because there's not a lot of silver bullets left, right?
No.
The
one we had
is proverbial silver bullet is kind of gone. So we need to make sure that we utilize the ones that we have as long as we possibly can.
Yes.
And so that's why, these products are so important in my opinion. And I, just wanted you on to help talk about those things,
well, and
bring them to the forefront.
And it's great to work, right? But I mean, also think about the convenience. I mean, like I said, we're working with ounces per acre rather than gallons.
Sure.
And it's an all-in-one multifunctional. I mean, I always tell guys, I'm like, that's the easy button, boom.
Right.
The only thing you got to add to this is a crop puller or an MSO if your herbicide calls for it.
Right.
And we're making those herbicides work like they were intended. A lot of labels will actually, if you read them, labels will tell you what pH range they actually want that active ingredient in to be most successful.
Yep. And it makes me wonder, I've always thought that, and I know that, but how many people actually read that label and look for pH, right? We're reading the label for every other thing, right?
Yeah.
Drift and setback and, everything. Active, or what our use rate is and so on. And so that's the beauty of it. This is actually giving us back the value of the herbicide that we already paid for. We're just now being able to utilize it all, right? So it's almost like we're putting money back in our pocket.
Oh, right? Definitely. Or at least getting what you paid for.
Right, exactly, which is, if we were getting 50% of it, right, because we had the wrong pH before,
right?
I don't want to say we're making money, right, because we're still having the same expense, but still we're getting to utilize it. It's kind of like being able to utilize all the money we have in our bank account rather than having a draw limit, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's great. What else? Is there anything else on the adjuvant that we need to speak about that it does? Any trials, or do you want to move on to another product?
One other trial I've had done for the last 2 years in a row. I had the University of Illinois do a trial with Full-Tech Adjuvant.
Really?
Yeah, against AMS with glufosinate, the active ingredient of Liberty.
Yep.
And 2 years in a row now, we've had identical results. It's been consistent, where 3 ounces of Full-Tech with 20 gallon of water perform just as well as 3 pounds of AMS in 20 gallon of water with a quart of glufosinate. We had within 0.5% the exact same kill rate across
Wow.
2 different years. And then we actually went as far as including AMS with Full-Tech adjuvant, and there was no better control. So more or less, out of the end of that, it shows that we're doing the same thing as AMS, if not more.
Right.
AMS isn't giving you anti-foam or anti-drift.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't like throwing bags of AMS,
I do actually. I love throwing them in the
oh,
spray.
that's great.
It's great.
I mean, I know you like staying in shape. I'm more for the cheeseburger line, so
Right.
I don't.
Well, and there's liquid AMSs. We can
Yeah.
poke it dry, and it is very cumbersome. I despise anything dry, right? That I don't have to do. But liquid AMS is out there, but the inconsistency in that product is, it's just highly variable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the low use rate's the biggest piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
And if I can do, 3 pounds versus 3 ounces is huge. The interesting part is when you add those two together, you don't increase your kill, so it actually does kind of finalize off that information there, doesn't it? The proof.
Yeah, and we've had trials show the same thing with glyphosate, not just glufosinate, but glyphosate as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had consistent results anytime that we've compared our or put our Full-Tech adjuvant up against AMS.
Yeah, anytime we can back things, I'm always kind of pick on a lot of companies, right? We want to put 7 or 8 things in the tank, and it's like every one of those need to be compatible.
Yes.
And when there's that many in the tank, I don't know which one to point the finger at it, right? Which inert matter tied up the other active ingredient of the other product where it didn't work, And so that's the beauty of this. We can decrease about 3 things in the tank. So
yeah, and so you're also taking those things off, your step deck trailer, your sprayer trailer. I mean, if we can take a pallet off your step deck, now you got more room for, say, a nutritional or something that's going to gain you yield, or something that may protect yield. So if you're taking 2-3 things, totes, we talked about liquid AMS, it's high use rate. It's probably going to be on a tote, whereas you can take 5, 6 cases with you. That's going to get you the whole day.
That's just going to say, yep. So you mentioned nutritionals. So you guys have some nutritionals. So tell us a little bit about those and tell us which ones are highest on your radar for this time of the year, right? We're going into the planning of 2026. Which one's going to be the highest on your radar that we need to discuss?
First things first, we're talking seed treatments. So we've got a few different products there. We have an actual seed treatment that works well on nematodes. It's a nutritional as well as has some nematode control there. That's called Full-Tech Plus ST. So that's a great product. You can over-treat with it or pair it with one of your F&Is and put that on your corn or soybeans or really any of your crops. And then as we head to the planter, then we've got Carbon Seed, which is a graphite product. It's a replacement for any of your 80/20s. It's got some micros and macronutrients as well as some enzymes. We're bypassing the live biologicals. They're not stable enough, so we're going right to the enzymes, the end reaction, what we're looking for. Then it's also got some organic acids to help there in the furrow. Try and get that soil and organic matter to release more nutrients to the seedling itself right there. So that's a pretty handy product, all in one, as a seed meter lubricant. We've had guys run it in their high-speed John Deere planters, bulk fills, love it, no issues, I ran it in my own planter last year. I got a box planter. My singulation was identical to if I was just running the 80/20.
Sure.
And then after that, we've also got a full line of inoculants for corn, soybeans, edible beans, peanuts, you name it. So that's something else you could be looking at early season before we get out there with the sprayer on that first pass. That's just starting out, and then the next stage is going to be that second pass. Our post herbicide, that V3, V4 pass on your corn and soybeans. We've got a full line nutritionals there. Whether you're trying to hone in on protecting against pathogens, or if you're just looking for stress mitigator, we've got a lot of products that do multiple different things within the plant. Whether we're stimulating different systems within the plant. We've got some products with phosphite that's going to help with bacterial and fungal control. Then we've even got some stress mitigators with amino acids and to help with that herbicide recovery.
Mm-hmm. When you do your micros, do we have to have? Is this a 1, 2, 3? Do I need to have the adjuvant in the tank along with any of the nutritionals, or
if
is
you're
it already in there?
There is some. So each one of our liquid nutritionals have some Full-Tech adjuvant in them. Some of those components. Whatever that product needs to be successful or most efficient, whether it be a certain water pH or if we need to condition the water, it's also got some surfactant in it. That is all already preloaded into that nutritional, that phytostimulant. If you're running with herbicide, I really like to still put in at least a half a rate of the adjuvant because it's going to have your drift reduction agent, your anti-foam. Some of those are things that aren't in the nutritional.
Mm-hmm.
So I still recommend a little bit. Now, if you're just going out, say you're just doing a foliar pass, no, all of our nutritionals are set to dump in water and go.
Okay. And they get the pH where we need it. Do you recommend checking your pH after you have a full tank mix ready to roll?
I do. I mean, if you know you're always pulling out of the same 1 or 2 water sources, I think it's a great idea. Just go on Amazon. They've got these digital pH meters for like $20. They come with a calibration kit as far as the 3 different pH levels they want you to calibrate at. It's really simple. 10 minutes, you'll have it calibrated. And yes, I highly encourage everybody get your whole tank mix done and check it then. That's the final solution going to the field. And that's what we care about.
Right.
So, yeah, I do encourage. And if you don't want to mess around with that, go to your local pool supply store and get you some pH test strips. They're going to pretty much do the same thing. They're going to tell you where you're at on that pH level.
Got it. Why is pH? What actually happens? Can you explain, or is that a Diego question? Why is the pH so important on different products? And we talk about half-lives. I know Purdue's done some homework and they've got data. Then we can publish that maybe or tag it into this podcast. But they're actually talking, or they have it down. I think where I've seen it, where like fungicides are 1 pH. What actually is going on there from a technical perspective? Can you tell us that, or is that something that's
the phrase is hydrolysis or alkaline hydrolysis. So talk about alkaline. So we're on the top side of the pH scale, right? Above a 7. Those are your alkaline levels. And what happens is at that pH range, those herbicides or those fungicides and so on, they start to half-life faster. And it's no different than anything else. A lot of our herbicides we're using are weak acid formulations. And I said acid. Okay, so if you take an acid and you put in an alkaline environment, obviously it's going to affect it. So if we can keep a lot of those pesticides in an acidic pH level, it's going to half-life a lot slower. So we're getting more active ingredient when we're going to the field. Sometimes we load up, a few hours ahead. Sometimes we load up a half a day's worth of product on the trailer. So what we're trying to do there is extend the amount of that active ingredient that's still coming out of the sprayer.
Got it. So if I premix my Full-Tech adjuvant, let's say a day ahead or 2 days ahead, and I don't put any other active ingredients in it, will it degrade over time if I'm mixing it ahead of, say I'm going to spray this week, middle of the week and it's Monday? Will it affect it at all, or will it maintain that pH?
No, it will maintain it, and when you put Full-Tech adjuvant in water, it becomes a solution. It's not a suspension. Okay, suspension needs constant agitation, or the products that are suspended will fall out. A solution is something that you cannot separate back out.
Right.
Okay, and it does become a solution, so you don't have to worry about, number one, that separating out, but number two, the pH adjuster, pH buffer that we use in it to lower the pH, it will hold. I've actually tested it for 34 days. I had it in a tank with some glyphosate and glufosinate on my side-by-side. I was doing some spot spraying, and before I could get it all out of the tank, it was 34 days later, and I checked it with my pH meter, and I was still holding at exactly a 5. So we do have guys that pre-treat their water source.
Right.
You know, if you got a 5,000-gallon water tank sitting in it, you always pull out of, you can pre-treat that and eliminate one more step at the sprayer or out in the field.
All right. Yeah, that would be a big deal. I know a lot of times, that is a struggle for some guys. So if you can pre-treat, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'd never heard the solution or suspension thing, so that's a nice piece to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the difference between, some of our fertilizers versus our herbicides, how they mix, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly right. Well, Mark, with that, we appreciate you being on the show. Until next time, where we can do a demonstration and talk maybe about some of the nutritionals. We appreciate it, and have a safe spring.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to this again.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.